Hello everyone, my name is Dmitry KUZMENKO. I am the CEO of Strategic Music Studio. We've seen many things while working on creating sound for games, and we have collected some amount of experience going back to when we started in 2003. And I'd like to use this lecture to provide you with a series of examples, series of projects we've worked on to show you how our experience can help you. But first I need to say a couple of words about how our studio has grown over the years. So firstly, we saw our work as simply creating music, sound design, and voiceovers. Then we began to understand that we were doing something more. We were creating the audio atmosphere. And then we realized that it was the time to move beyond thinking only of audio. So we started to think of ourselves as the creators of atmosphere, of the atmosphere. Audio is just the tool we use to paint the atmosphere. And now we see our most recent stage as being involved in making games cool by creating its atmosphere. So, and our lecture is called Branding Cool with Audio. And I think we need to explore the idea of cool with you. So what really is cool? What does it have to do with audio in games? There is a variety of approaches to understanding this idea, the idea of cool. So some people might think, I mean the people who develop games, they think that the game is cool if it has neatly optimized program code. Some may suppose that the art and the graphics are what makes game cool. And of course, maybe some of you might think that I didn't mention the idea of the game, like the main concept of the game. Of course, it is a very important part of any game, but I can tell you that you can do your best in programming, in drawing, and you can come up with very bright and fresh and original idea. But even then, these things may not make a game cool. So, as we see it in strategic, game is cool when friends want to share it with each other. If it's something that can draw friends together to discuss its coolness, and people always want to share things they believe are cool with each other. It makes them feel good. Like you found this cool, and by sharing it with your friends, you are gaining a part of its coolness by yourself. You can open any social network and see how they are flooded with people sharing tons of quotes and videos of things they've come across they want other people to see. So. And then here comes the obvious question. Why not make games with the goal to have them be shared with other people, right? So if a game is cool, you won't need to advertise it with expensive advertising campaign, because people will do this work for the game. And the game just needs to find itself in the hands of few people who are on the pulse of cool and who will start the viral explosion. And you see, once a cool game has been released, it starts to live its own life, and people will memorize and recite the melodies from a cool game. They will make parodies of the game, and of course they will enjoy eating little audio tasty sound morsels. We call sound design this way. And more importantly, they will spread the game to other people. So, as you may guess, I'm going to my point finally. And my point is that the coolness is deeply connected with audio in games. And we want to show you some examples of how audio makes games cool. So, The Parking Lot by Crystal Lee. I think we have to see the video first. Okay, so as you can see, this is a game about rearranging cars in parking lot. You have to pick a specific car and move it. So let's try to think, how would we share this game with our friends? Maybe something like that. Like, hey, Joe, check out this game. It's a very cool game. You have to pick a specific car and you have to move it backwards and forwards. It's just unbelievably cool. Something like that, right? And is it really that cool? And will Joe regretlessly dive into this game after hearing these words? Let's try to think about that. The graphics are okay, just fine, very fresh. The idea is fine, okay, again, and we didn't see any bugs, which tells us that the program code is neatly optimized in this game. But let's try to add something more to this game and see what happens next. Let's have a quick look at the next video.
Oh! Hey, watch it!
I never should have parked here.
Oh, man. This is ridiculous! Oh.
Get off the road! Are you serious?
So what did we do? We've added something, right? By adding these sounds, the audio has actually became a unique defining feature of the game. And we added, of course, we added some humor. I think, would it be possible to add humor without audio? No, of course, no. And we didn't just add humor. We were able to draw people and animals into these cars using only audio. We didn't involve any artists, you know. So I think that this game just became much easier to share with friends. Which you have to need is to play this game among people with the volume turned on, and they will notice it. So now this game has more character, more life, more uniqueness, and it gives something to people to pay attention to. Okay, so the next example, Blastics. Let's see the video first. Okay. Again, the concept of the game is just okay. You have to use physics to get rid of the blocks. Bricks and blocks, you have to like move it out of the screen. The graphics are okay. The bricks have different shapes and colors, and so the game is totally okay, no bugs. But let's try to imagine again how we would share it with our friends. Like, hey, Brett, Melinda, why aren't you playing this game yet? You have to use physics to knock the blocks off of things. You just start playing it immediately. And do you think that Brett and Melinda would breathtakingly immerse themselves into this game after hearing these words again? I think, yes, if they are some nerdy people, they would. But we're all here to make mainstream games, and the more people will play the game, the better, right? So that means that this game needs more appeal. Okay, let's think further. So maybe the developers had the same thoughts because they came up with the next version of this game for iOS devices. And in this next version, they the blocks and the bricks and the balls had faces with eyes and mouths. So that was something to work with, wasn't it? But just adding faces didn't make this game cool yet. Let's think beyond. So if you were a block or a brick, what would you say? Let's try to imagine it. I think we all know what you would say. Something maybe like this. maybe like that.
Bah.
Nothing special. But I again encourage you to take this idea a little further. So let's pretend that we have some blocks and bricks and balls which are a bit smarter and they have something more to say. So they've got some intellect. And so firstly, we convinced the developers that these guys, square and round guys, had something to say. And me and Will, we sat at the office and we came up with a huge spreadsheet with phrases for all situations happening in the game. You know, we made all these blocks, bricks, and balls talk. So we just shoot in the balls to these bricks and blocks, and they comment about everything we're doing. There are different types of balls we can choose. So, and I think you have just seen it by yourself. So here's the condensed video of the gameplay.
Take the brick.
Engage.
Kitchen sink.
Target acquired. Engaging the blocks.
Molotets. Cut the block. I crashed. Eat beats.
Incoming!
Nom nom nom. Operator standing by. Bon voyage. Sense offense. Hey! Meet me. Hey there. Salut. I block you. Operator. Fancy that. Picnic is finished. Ugh. I don't like you. How old are you? Move! Oh, please! Wow! No! I'm one off. No! Boing! Angry blocks! Touche! Oh no! What are you gonna do? Whoa! Those blocks! Balalaika!
So according to our idea, immediately after this lecture, you have to buy this game and try it by yourself. Okay, so there became a whole dynamic world of interactions between these blocks and bricks, and we facilitated with phrases, and it completely reimagined the game into something real bigger. And now, again, it's much easier to share this game with friends, because talking blocks and talking bricks, they are like, you can rarely meet them in your everyday life. So, and it's interesting to feel how is it, like when you are in their world, how to live in their world. Okay, so the next example is Kick the Body by Crystal again, the guys who made Parking Lot. So, could you please show the picture? So the idea of this game is to make some actions to this funny guy called Buddy. It's like a stress relief. So you can beat him, you can kick him, you can water him like he's a plant, and its position on the charts shows that many people use it. It's a very popular game. And the first version of this game, this guy, he kept silence, so he didn't have even a mouth. And we suggested that to correct this issue, and the developer, he did it especially for us. So now he uses his feature, this new feature, like Buddy has his own voice to market the game. So, and again, we composed a huge script for with many columns for every actions which player can do, and now he makes comments about everything which is going on in the game, and he does it in a funny way which makes people laugh. And so when we buy a weapon, he comments about that. He advises us how to use it properly on him. When we go to the bank, I mean, when the players go to the bank to spend real money for buying stuff, the Body comments about this as well. So, and he swears, of course, if we don't have money, he suggests us to buy a calculator or something like that. Let's just see the video.
Here is my boxland. Give me your money. Buy some fun. Oh, yeah. Make more money. Splendid. That's not good. I'm a pacifist. What's wrong with you? Stop! I'm out, I'm out. What's going on? I don't like it. Hey, what are you doing? Open a window. Whoa. Oh, I feel funny. Oh, my biscuits are burning. Think of your karma. Stop. You're a bad person.
Okay, so I can tell you that when we were at Casual Connect in Singapore, when we talked to people at our booth and we showed this game off, and just everybody burst out with laughter like you. So, please notice that to see what Buddy can say, what else Buddy can say, we have to buy the stuff in the game, and we have to spend real money. So, this is it. Imaki, the next examples. So the next examples fully illustrate how all of our ideas, which we from our speech, which we gave here a year ago, work good when everything comes together in the right way. So maybe some of you remember us standing here and talking about how people would like, how people love sounds and how they would dislike any mismatches between like music and sounds key, and how it's important for a composer and sound designer and voiceover specialist to be permanently in touch while when the game is being developed. So these games are called Imaki and Amazing Breaker. Imaki has just been released, and Amazing Breaker is quite a popular game here in the States. While working on both games, we were given a total freedom to use, to create the audio atmosphere. And since we're a studio where everything which is connected with audio and all that can be produced, every aspect related to the audio was able to be perfectly matched together. So let me see you some examples. Let me show you some examples.
Great. Outstanding. Amazing skill.
The next Imaki.
Let's begin. Watch out! Ooh! Beautiful combo! Excellent! Freeze ability! Dazzling chain! Gorgeous! Masterful chain. Awesome. Freeze. Lovely. Vibrant chain. Joker ability. You've earned 3 stars.
So you may have noticed that when we're talking about Amazing Breaker, which was the first one, the graphics was maybe a bit too dark, and by adding this beautiful voice, we made it more warmer to a player. We made it more closer to a player. So, and we definitely add charisma to both of those games. So at this point, the atmosphere has started to become a feature of the game. So it would be just impossible if the developers hadn't given us freedom to use our creativity and skills. And it seems it's very good that developers have started to listen to these ideas that they have to make sure that everything like music, sound, and voiceovers, they should be matched together. And so it's a real important thing to order everything which is connected to audio from one place, from one person, or from one studio. So this is it. So let's make some conclusion for my part. So all of these examples, again, so which I showed to you, they wouldn't exist if the developers hadn't given us freedom. So if you're working with an audio specialist, just make sure that you have to delegate a part of your game, and it shouldn't be. It can be not too small part to this specialist. You have to delegate this part to the specialist, so the part of your game's success is strongly depends on the audio. Audio stuff is it's more complicated actually than many developers think, and I can tell you that many developers tend to approach to the audio in a way that is much straighter than it has to be. So, and I'd like to finish my part by showing you the last example. So let's talk about casual games for a little while, since we're here casual people and Casual Connect. As you know, some casual games, almost every casual game, have some creepy places to lurk around. Let's just see the photo. Something like that, yeah. And here there is how some developers believe like a creepy place must sound, something like that. Okay, so it is real. We've been working on many games. What do we see here? The sound information tells us exactly the same thing as the picture. And why to double it? Let's not assume that our players are stupid, and let's build something more for them. People actually have eyes, and they see what is drawn on the picture. And moreover, the music is the whole language with tons of different emotions besides feeling desolate or depressed. And musicians, they spend much time to learn this language, 10 to 15 years. And so why not using it? Why let it go to waste by thinking too rigidly? So how else could it sound? Let's try to come up with more examples. Okay, maybe like that. Or like this. The last one. Okay, so does this music match these pictures? I think it does, and more so. So I hope you can see from these examples that the coolness of the game can strongly be affected by the studio's approach to its audio. And now I'd like to introduce William Bucknum, our voiceover and script specialist, and he will take this lecture into different direction and maybe he will tell something interesting about storytelling and other stuff. Thank you.
So, hello everyone. So, as a voiceover director, I've worked on a lot of games, and I've noticed a few things, which is that a lot of developers think they have great ideas about scripts, and I'm mostly talking here about casual games, not like little iOS games, but the same is true. And what I think every game developer needs to realize is that games are a narrative art form, which means every game tells a story. Even Super Mario, it tells a story. It's a story about a plumber and a princess, and we know that. Every game has a story, and that's something that you have to capitalize on, because if people are going to talk about their game, they need to understand the story enough that they can explain it to other people so that more people will play the game. If you're playing a game that doesn't make any sense, how are you going to explain that to other people? I'm playing this really cool game. I don't really know how to explain it. It's really confusing. That's not a good endorsement for the game, no matter how fun the game actually is. So it's something you need to pay attention to. So to kind of get into this idea, I want to look at another narrative art form, which is television. I think that people that make games should pay attention to television because there's lots of interesting things happening in television that you can learn from. So I want to talk right now, what's cool in television? And if you're going to look at what really is dominating cool in television right now, it's HBO. HBO is by far producing more hits that are taking over Twitter, that are taking over DVD sales, and everyone's posting about them on Facebook. So let's just look quickly at some titles. So HBO, they're making all of these. They've made Game of Thrones, Girls, Entourage, Flight of the Conchords, Curb Your Enthusiasm, True Blood, Sex and the City, The Wire, Real Time with Bill Maher, which you can't probably base a game off of that, but it's the biggest hit of that kind of show. The Sopranos, Deadwood, 6 Feet Under, all of these shows are massive, massive hits. They're doing something at HBO better than everybody else. What are they doing? What they're doing is they're spending more time and energy on pre-production. They pick the best writers and scripts early on. They give full control to the directors and producers to create a vision for the project, and they focus on originality and good stories above everything else. So if you know how that's different than the major television networks like ABC or CBS, what you have is people in the boardroom thinking, who's going to buy the most of this? How can we get most people sitting in a room? And what ends up happening is the vision is lost because they're thinking about things other than the story. If you have a good story, people will enjoy it. And if it's executed well, they're really going to enjoy it. And that's all there is to it. So the same thing with games. If you compare these shows to the shows that aren't cool, just see what they're doing better. If you're going to make a game that's about, I don't know, something about pirates, look at what pirate movies are out there and what they're doing well. Look at the ones that aren't doing so well. There's some not cool things. What's the difference? Same thing. And also, the stories, the character development are phenomenal in the better stories, so you have to have good characters. They have to be interesting, they have to be unique, and either the humor has to be great or at least good most of the time. Other examples in the past decade of these shows that have blossomed past everything else, you can see they have some very interesting character development, interesting stories. Mad Men, Dexter, Breaking Bad, Family Guy, SpongeBob. These things are doing quite well. Lost, The Office, Arrested Development, etc. So every game has its own world. From small games to big, there's a context to the game. So the game happens somewhere. You you see games sometimes where you don't really have a place. You can't place it. What is the characteristic of this? Things happen, and there has to be some kind of conflict or task. You need something to put tension in your game, because if there's not, you don't really feel like you're doing something important. You need to have something to overcome, and every game needs that. So ask yourself why, or why, as we see here, and how did we get here? Those are 2 questions to ask in any game you make. Why is this happening, and how are we in this world? So with every game, particularly casual game, you create a story, and then you figure out how you're going to tell this story. For casual games, it's extremely important. It's important to make it as challenging, as important as it is to make challenging and graphically stimulating hidden object screens. The story can make or break a game. So you might have the best hidden object screens with the most interesting images that you find. But if the story's not good, people aren't going to care, because they're going to feel lost, or like, I'm stupid for playing this game. And that can be a huge turnoff. So the solution is to start making the script early on in the process, and talk with the audio people about how to make the story work. If you just give the script to the audio people after you've made everything, what can they do? They just, you know, okay, we'll do our best with it, but we can't fix it if there's any problems. So that's one thing. Another thing is there's a couple things that are guaranteed to make your game just alienate people, and they will hate you for it. So first off, and this probably sounds obvious, particularly to a room in America, but you need to avoid racism and sexism in your games and things like that. Sometimes it's not apparent to everybody, but you need to ask yourself that question as you're making games. You might not realize it, but ask yourself as you're making these scripts, like, could this possibly offend somebody? Because we want to sell this game to everybody, and we don't want people to play this and go, what the hell is this? It's important. Don't manage the audio until the last minute. I just mentioned that. And the 4th wall, this is the key. So in theater, you have to have a suspension of disbelief that what's happening on the stage, we know it's not real, but we can accept that and kind of go into this world. If something happens that takes us out of that, the game's no longer fun. So if a character suddenly says something that is like grammatically weird, or suddenly the character goes from like being a sad orphan to like falling in love, and there's no like, it just happens. It's like, what? I don't believe this. You're suddenly kicked out of the enjoyment of the game, and then the only enjoyment you have is making fun of it. I was playing this game, and then this really stupid thing happens. That's not good advertising for yourself. So the plot, again, why am I doing this? If you don't know when you're playing the game, and I've experienced this before with a lot of casual games, where like you're a player and you run into somebody and you click on them, and then they tell you need to go someplace. But you don't really know the person you meet in the game, and you don't know why that person's telling you to go somewhere. So why would you do it? It's just kind of weird and strange, right? So if you're going to have those kind of interactions, you need to have the context built into the game, or it's like, why am I doing this? I don't understand. So you need to know every character's motivation. Why are they doing things? Why is this guy evil? He's not just a jerk for no reason. There's got to be a reason, right? He wants something. Something happened to him, and that made him a jerk. What is it? Explain it throughout the game. Give us, those are the best evil characters, the ones that have a reason to be evil, not just because they happen to be a witch or a vampire. But there's more to it. Put that into the game. We like that. So you need to be emotionally believable, even if the plot's somewhat unrealistic or fantastic, and that's what good fantasy and sci-fi is. They're real people in unreal situations, not unreal situations with unreal people, because then you can't connect to anything. So you need that connection. So I got a couple examples here. How do I? Oh, this one. Okay. So common plot problems, and I've shown you here some of the worst movies ever made. I don't know if have you seen these? Yeah? No? These movies all have problems with they could never be successful because the plot's stupid. What was good about The Mask? Jim Carrey. So let's make a sequel. We'll take Jim Carrey out of it, and we'll use a baby instead. Yeah, that's going to work. There's no way that movie would ever work. They should have known better. And this movie lost like millions of dollars because of it. It's obvious. So there's sort of the same sort of things we find in games. So I'll play you an audio of kind of a typical situation that you'll find in some games. Here's just listen to it and see if you can find maybe some issues about why people might not be too interested in this.
Long, long ago, the Miller family was the best family in all of Rockburg. John Miller was elected mayor and was well respected by all until, that one night when everything went wrong. The curse of the Witch of Rockburg turned him and all the citizens of Rockburg into prisoners of this bewitched town. None could leave and would be forever preserved as ghosts as long as the curse persisted.
Now, maybe you've played this game before, or maybe you've played this game a million times. It's a cliche. There's too many games that sound like this. You need to be more unique. If you want to make a game with ghosts or with curses, you have to really try hard not to make it sound like every other game like that. So that's the first thing. You need to avoid that. I have a little video for you. This is a real thing. This was something pitched. I think it was on ABC. This is a trailer for a pilot that went nowhere, and I think you might be able to understand why.
Peter Boyle is a tough, ill-mannered cop who is run down in the line of duty. But that's not the end of his story. No, he's reincarnated.
Ha! Surprise!
As a streetwise bulldog in Puchinsky.
What are you going to do now? Well, first I'm going to try licking myself, and then I'm going to catch my killer.
The talking dog teams up with his astonished former partner to put the bite on crime. It's touching.
Look at me. I've become a dog. It's all sinking in now.
It's poignant.
But it's life. It's precious life.
It's unforgettable.
You're a dog. I'm a cop. This is ridiculous.
That's real. And it went nowhere, and they wasted a lot of money making that pilot. So yeah, you can see, like, you have to start with a good story, and if you don't, there's no hope. Let me get back to this. So, and then you can watch that at home after this is put online. A couple more common problems. This is really, really common in casual games. There's an inappropriate emotional reaction. So a character just discovers something really big, like that their parents were killed and they didn't know it, or that they have a sister and they didn't know it, or something like that. And that's not good if the reaction is like completely disconnected to the reality that a real person would have. So I have an example that kind of illustrates what this would be like. You can listen.
Hey, Melissa, I want to tell you something. I know your parents have been missing for years and you've been looking for them. Actually, they were killed by an evil scientist who was trying to take over the world. What you probably don't know is that you have a sister who is alive and well in Dublin. You should talk to her.
I have a sister? How can I find her?
I'll give you the address. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
This actually isn't too far from some things I've seen in some games, where you get a lot of information suddenly, and a lot of games are front-loaded with information, which is bad. You should actually, as the game goes, you should discover things along the way. When you get everything at once, there's no way for a character to handle that, and as a player, you can't take it seriously. So I have kind of another thing, which is, you might notice I kind of have a Western theme on today. So if you saw me and you never seen me before, and maybe if my shirt was tucked in and I was wearing Wrangler pants and boots, you would expect me to speak a certain way, like, howdy y'all, welcome to Casual Connect Conference 2012. I'm your speaker today and we're gonna talk about voiceovers, right? But in games, you have an image and the character needs to match that image. And if it doesn't, it's really jarring because every time you see something, it won't fit. And one thing that happens with people, particularly like more common with foreign companies that translate their games into English, they'll try to make the game cool using cool English, but it doesn't match the character. There's something missing because of maybe class issues. You have wealthy people that speak like cool people and things like that. So I want to give you kind of two examples. Same story. One is sort of more typical of problems and one is a little better. So hear the difference.
Are you meeting Douglas tonight?
Yes, Father. He's taking me to the place on the river again. You know, where we had a brunch with the Spencer Wilsbys before seeing the cricket game.
Great, dear. Oh, speak of the devil. That must be him arriving now out there.
Hey, everyone. Good to see you. How are things going here?
It's so great, Douglas. Just great. So, what's the news?
Hey, you wouldn't believe it, Christine. I just got back from going on a good old hunt with Harold Morris and their university friends. Actually, I did really good and killed these pheasants here, which I'd like to give you all as gifts.
Good job, Dougie. Thanks a lot. Hey, Philip, get the pheasants from Doug's car and bring them in.
So that's, an example that you have some contextual problems. The voices don't match. Kind of an upper class situation, but the people are speaking, I don't know where they're from, but it doesn't sound like they're from a nice manor, maybe somewhere in England. Let's try a little different.
Chrissy, dear, are you meeting with Douglas again for dinner tonight?
Yes, Papa. He's taking me to that wonderful place on the river again. You know, where we met the Spencer Wilsbys for brunch before attending that cricket match.
Ah, that's great, dear. Oh, look, dear, I think that's him arriving now.
Hello, hello. So good to see you all. How are things here at the estate?
Marvelous, Douglas. Just marvelous. And what news bring with you to us today?
I'm so glad you asked, Christine. I've returned from a great hunt with Harold Morris and their friends from the university. Indeed, I had great success and offer you and your family these pheasants, which I hope you'll kindly accept.
Oh, congratulations, Douglas. Thank you. We gladly accept your gift.
So you can feel the difference, it's a little over the top, but you get the idea, right? So getting back to cool, right? So your game can be cool, and it won't cost a fortune to do it, but you need to find like an angle. You find at least one thing about your project that makes it different from everything else, and you really use it. You highlight it, emphasize the unique details in the game, and tell a good, compelling story. That will take you really far. That's my main thing. So when cool finally arrives, you'll know you found it when the story is interesting, the characters are interesting, and you feel a part of their world, and that's the key. You are brought into this world of the game. You are experiencing it, and you're not distant from it, and you feel distant from it when things are off. You want to feel like you're a part of it, and you want to enjoy that. So that's really the key. So conclusion, if you tell the story the right way, people will love it. If the characters are interesting, it's a huge plus. Players will tell everyone how cool the game is, and they'll give clear, convincing reasons. Audio is the key vehicle that can bring players into a good story, and if you use it well, success will be in your hands. So that's it. Here's our contact.